Welcome to Cardano Over Coffee with your hosts, BlockJock, Jenny from the Blockchain, Epoch Pool, Hero Pool, TCT, CookThyme, and today's Lighto's Day Off. Today we have Rogue Galaxies, a Web3 Sci-Fi MMO roguelike game from mmaker.io, which will soon be coming to the Cardano blockchain, and their public mint is now live. Then we have Optim Finance with their Cardano Yield products and their live liquidity bonds on the Cardano blockchain. Grab a cup of coffee and let's jump right in.
For me, it was the first time experience NFT drop because my background is in game development from the Web2 space. So super excited about it, how it turned out, and so many things down the line with our roadmap and everything. Just to give you an insight, we have now the mint done. It's nearly closed. Like Ignacio mentioned, only a handful are left. And then already next month, we do our first airdrop of our season passes. And these season passes give you access to our gamification, which will already happen in January. So we're working like hell in the background, so many things at the same time. It's like insane. And there's so much to come. So really, really exciting times. And thanks again for having us.
Absolutely. We love having you here. I caught a little bit of a YouTube video with Cardano Hotel, and they were speaking on the game a little bit. You guys were giving the rundown on it. If you could kind of give a bit to our listeners as to what the game is, and then a bit of the roadmap and when you intend on potentially launching the project.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, I guess a lot of people here don't even know what Rogue Galaxy is, so that's like a good starting point. Like Rogue Galaxy is a sci-fi MMO roguelike. So it's like a multiplayer game on Cardano blockchain, and it's a roguelike, which means we have this run-based approaches. So you can do several things multiple times. You maybe fail, you maybe not. It's somehow intended, but you can repeat them over and over again. There are a lot of variation, a lot of technical stuff that influenced it. That is experience is a super fun experience one. But what is the game about? Like at the start, you will be one of our chasers, how we call them. So you're more of a rookie pilot, figuring out what's going on in this universe. And there's this mysterious power, which we call the Stygian Light. I'm sure Ignacio will tell you more about that. But for now, the Stygian Light is like this unique and mysterious power source that caused chaos in our universe. And since we are in space, and since this is a sci-fi game, you have a lot to do there, like getting your spaceship ready and exploring space, do space mining, do missions, do battle encounters with other pirates or other players. Then we have at a certain point a level where you can go on planets and then have expeditions on the planets where you face aliens, gather resources, which you can use then later to improve your spaceship or your character. And also the big multiplayer component where we build huge cities, where you can interact with other players, create guilds, factions, all that cool stuff you want to, and just plan your next expedition. So it's a very ambitious project. We have a lot of background in game development, as I mentioned, and also nmaker is with us on that journey. Like they kind of initiated this whole game, and they help us a lot on the technical side, so that we have a big start for our NFT technology, which will also influence the game. Our first drop, just to mention that, were the Genesis spaceships. They will be playable assets in the game, and they can be leveled up by game playing. So our game is not a play-to-earn game, and it's not a pay-to-win game. It's more like a traditional game you maybe are familiar with from Web2 space, and that's also our ultimate goal, like creating a game for the mainstream where we use blockchain technology to enhance the usual gaming experience, and then slowly introduce or build the bridge from Web2 to Web3, that we can introduce new people into the space through gaming and let them know about NFTs, but more in a easier way, more tutorialized way, maybe also maybe through storytelling, because in the end we create this game for a big audience and we want the mass adoption. And yeah, that's a lot I already told about the game. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. But if not, then I would love to let Ignacio talk a bit about the story.
So before Ignacio starts into the story, a little bit about you guys, your background, how long you've been in this particular industry, And how many developers do you have that are working on the project currently?
Okay, I do one more round, then I then I will be quiet. Okay, my background is in game development for over 7 years. I myself has a background as a programmer, more traditionally at first, but I think it was 7.5 years ago, I transitioned to the game industry, started working on mobile games mostly first, then web games, then I transitioned to computer games and console games. Back in 2018, I founded a gaming studio, which is still running and operating, creating PC and console games, together with also a colleague which is working in Rogue Galaxy, Robin. He's not here today. He's also part of the core team. Our core team right now is very slim. It's like Ignacio, Robin, myself. We basically do the design, the base foundation of everything. We work with a lot of freelancers already, which we onboard slowly onto the team, like especially when there are periods where we need a lot of assets or stuff like 2D artists, 3D artists. We have connections with a crew that does a lot of rendering, all that stuff. And also the whole NMaker team is behind us. So I think yesterday we also onboarded 2 new moderators for our Discord. So we are slowly growing as the game progresses. There are a lot more information on that also on our roadmap, at what particular point we increase the team size. Because right now we have everything covered, which we need to cover to create a base foundation and to build on further. But further down the line, sure, there will be more people on the team for such an ambitious project.
So one question about NMaker, because we all know Patrick Tobler and what he's done for Cardano and the ecosystem. How are they playing a role within the Rogue Galaxy development and the game?
The initial idea, it's funny. So that's also a bit of a background story. Yeah, I think it was 2015. Patrick comes from Germany, as I myself do. And I think I met him at a Gamescom, or it was a game event. So Patrick and myself and Robin are friends for a very, very long time. And he created like NMaker company like 2 years ago. And we had our game studio. And it was earlier this year that we came together and said, hey, let's start something together. It was for us like the coming into the blockchain space. And then we created together with other ninjas, they're called now Danketsu. We created the Shards of Nineveh game. And maybe that's also a good idea to have this as a bridge, because this was when we met Ignacio. Like we created the Shards of Nineveh game, and we met Ignacio during that development, and he worked with us together. And this was also like that we figured out that this team really does work well together. And then after the other Ninjas game, then we transitioned back and said, like, let's sit together and what can we create together with NMaker, get Ignacio on the team, and us previously, our company was Smokestep. Now we created NMaker Games. What can we create for the Cardano space, especially for mass adoption, onboarding new people into the space, which is also a big mission of NMaker.
Great, thanks. Epoch, did you have anything for Rogue Galaxy yet, or Jenny, Ada Girl?
I do have a question. It's more of a curious question because I was checking out the NFTs on JPEG, and they all have different names. So are they the names of the starship, or what? Why so many different names for the spaceships?
Now I'm jumping in. This is my turn. It all began. So this is actually linked to the whole idea of the story behind the game itself. Rogue Galaxies is it is now, as you enter the game, it's the year 7,500 after Earth. So we're talking like 11,000, 12,000 AD. It's thousands of years in the future. Earth is no longer a part of our history. It is no longer part of humanity. We've left Earth thousands of years ago. And what was old Earth is now what we see as myths like the Iliad or the Odyssey, right? So all these names of the ships are cities of our current Earth that no longer exists at that time. Because for them, it's mythical names of all the cities that used to be of old Earth. And that actually ties up to something fun that we've been doing with the community. We did a mintathon not too long ago, and it finished already, but we're planning more, where we actually asked the community to imagine, because since humanity has left Earth, they spread throughout the galaxy, and because of their different environments, the different environments that they moved into, that they started living in as different factions and tribes and governments, they've been evolving slowly in different ways throughout the galaxy. And we've asked the community how they would look and what their stories would be. and they minted those images that most of them also created through Midjourney, through AI technology to create these images. They've been creating amazing stuff, and through that we've been slowly building and puzzling together the history of humanity so far. But yeah, to sum up, the idea of the names of the ships are all old Earth cities that are now myth to more modern humans.
Okay, and then I saw that there is a rarity to some, like there was a rare. Can you walk me through a little bit of what makes them rare? Why would one be more rare than the other? Is there a benefit to having a more rare one, or can just a common one work just as well in the game?
That's actually really interesting because the rarities will change throughout the game. Again, this is not a pay to win, this is a play to win. So the ships themselves, although they have a rarity at the moment, as you level them up, this is the whole project is open policy. So these NFTs will be reminted with different assets, with different skins, with different levels. And if you check the metadata, some are heavy, some are fast, some have different modules, and all these things will change throughout time, changing their rarity. Of course, there's the rarest, which have a bit of Stygian power, which is connected to the whole story of what's happening in the galaxy at the time of our story. But most of the rarities will fluctuate. Not violently, obviously, but they will. And we're still tweaking a couple of things, because you have to imagine every detail or every new aspect that we want to add to the game adds complexity to the development of the game itself, and added to the complexity of how the NFTs work themselves. So we're not sure yet if you can take part, because every part of the spaceship, like the cockpit, the body, the wings, the thrusters, are all parts that have different rarities. We're not sure if you'll be able to change them between the NFTs that you own yet. That's an idea that we have, but this will also change the rarity as you play the game, as you develop your ships, as you mix and match different assets that you'll earn throughout the game. So that's where rarities come in, and rarities will fluctuate. And of course, as well, just to make a note, the ships themselves, each part, there's 20 manufacturers that we have in our lore so far, weapons and arms manufacturers that create these ships, and we at the moment only released 3 of these manufacturers, because they're coming up with new ships as the game evolves, as their story evolves. And each one of them also has several materials that they can use. And these are also materials that we've created, like titanium, gold, scale, PMC, which is something that I created out of thin air, but that is based on real science of today, or how metals and metallurgy could evolve in the future. And these are also rarities in the ships.
How
Anyways,
about how about the element of blinginess? Because I would love a rare blingy spaceship.
blinginess, yeah, blinginess.
It could be like
That
the
is a
epic
term.
tier. I don't know.
Hold on, I'm writing it down. Blinginess.
Blingy
I'm
spaceship.
I'm keeping that. Yeah, well, okay. So this is actually really interesting, because we, as me as a storyteller, but Eve and Robin as well as developers, we try to see it more on the side of how do we make this work for the game down the line, and we didn't consider that much of the blinginess when we should have. And this takes us to the point that we listen to the community, because they've been saying the same. There's a couple of ships that are blingy indeed. They have a bit of Stygian power, and they got the shine, and they got different materials for their frames and stuff. But as a collection as a whole, they are not blingy enough, and that's why I believe Eve has his hand up. I'm gonna let him tell you what we're gonna do.
Okay, I I just moved this point a bit further. Yes, as Ignacio said, the community mentioned this as feedback, and from day one we are super open and transparent about everything we do, and we respond very well to the community and all their feedback, and we are so happy and appreciative like for their feedback. And a lot of people said, yeah, they're really cool, and there's some very cool ones, especially in the top rarity, and we see that ourselves. But there are also some that look pretty similar, and from a gameplay perspective, this makes 100% sense, and that's how we approach it, and it's like thought through. But from the NFT collection, it's like super fair criticism. And that's why we are already working with artists together to give them a bit more blinginess. But that's as much as I can say of it right now. But there will be more variation. They will be upgraded. We already let our community know about that, so they can get more value on the NFTs. That's what we want to give them. And they gave feedback on that, and we respond to that as we always did. Maybe one more thing for the leveling or the rarity. Right now, you can see it as the rarity gives your spaceship a baseline of potential. And this potential is something that you can fill up through gameplay, like leveling your spaceship, do certain missions, participate in several events. And with leveling up your spaceship, you increase your base values. So this way, maybe common ship could surpass a more rare ship if it's not played. So it's up to you how much you do progress on your spaceship. And if you play it more, it will become better. That's the important part for us, that the time you invest in our game can be refunneled in your NFTs and represented as values in there, because it's something you own, something you spend time on, and then you should get rewarded for that. That's one thing.
So then leveling up your spaceship is like experience points for this ship. The more you use it, the better it gets as far as usability or versatility for the spaceship?
Yes, 100%. And for certain activities, you also need some requirements on your ship. So it's like you have to do certain things to upgrade it to a degree that you can surpass things in space. There will be one. Sorry.
Oh no, I go on. You can finish. I had another question.
And one more important thing, especially if you think in gameplay terms, like balancing is a tricky one. We have the module slots on our spaceships, and there's room for more customization. But the customization in our game will be that you have to make trade-offs. Like, for example, you have more thrusters on your spaceship to make it faster. That's possible. But then maybe it's not the best spaceship for combat because you don't have additional turrets, additional armor, these kind of things. So you have to make decisions. What do you want your spaceship to be? Maybe it's the fastest one in the galaxy. Maybe it's the best for transportation, or it's just this big combat battleship that just destroys everything. But it's kind of slow but armored. So it's really up to you.
Oh, that's interesting because I like all purpose. Like whenever I'm a big gamer, so I've played games for many, many years, but I like that thought process. But so one quick question, and then I'll promise I'll get off the throne. I don't know what euphemism.
Oh, don't get off the throne, girl. Like, you have the questions.
No, I like the throne. At this point, stay on the throne, Ada girl. You're doing great.
So what if I had my girl Jenny join me in this game, right? Can two people fit in the space? Can I bring a person to kind of go on adventures with me in the spaceship, or is it a one-person spaceship?
The spaceships right now are one person. We are thinking about multiple person spaceships, but it's also something that our game should be super easy accessible. So we will not create a space simulation where you have to read a manual and need 10 people to steer a spaceship through space. It should be easy. There were also a lot of feedback from the community that they want to see fleets is something, especially when they have more spaceships. We see how much we can implement into the game. For now, it's single player spaceships, but you will later fly together. So 2 spaceships side by side is definitely possible.
Not only that,
in Rogue. I love it.
Yeah, not only that, I just want to add as well that the community, by their own genius, has started to create syndicates. Syndicates are going to be groups of players that are playing together under one banner of chasers, like we call them, basically the modern day pirates for their time, for Rogue Galaxies, and they're creating their own chaser syndicates, and we already have one with an insane insignia. They're already planning how to work with their ships and perhaps rent them out to other people to be able to loot and take a percentage. So they're doing crazy things. So I think you girls could probably make a syndicate of your own as well.
Yeah, we call them like the bad chicks of Rogue Galaxy.
The blingies.
The blingies.
The blingies.
Thank you so much.
It kind of became a term, like a whole verb, huh? Or no, it's not a verb. It's a, how do you call that?
Adjective.
Adjective. Thank you.
Yeah, and
I
wrote it down.
I was going to go for pronoun, but I'm horrible at grammar, so yeah, I would have been way off.
Definitely an adjective. Yeah.
I
Word of the
also,
day.
yeah, sorry, I also want to add, because we didn't mention, and I think it's something really important to mention, when it comes to the gamification, the people that bought ships, and hold on, actually, I want to check right now, because we have 5 ships left for this mint. It's crazy. Everyone that owns a ship from this Genesis drop, everyone is getting airdropped a season pass Genesis. So throughout the game, I know Eve can tell you a lot more about the details of how it's going to work, but basically these season passes are going to give you access to the game, to the gamification that we're starting in January. It's not going to be the game itself, but we're going to start a gamification on our website. And in fact, actually, in 2 hours, we have a call with some of our mods and one of our new coders to try to figure out how to link perhaps the Discord with the website, if possible. Asterisk. Let's see if it happens. And these season passes you'll also be able to, as NFTs, you'll also be able to level them up and get and earn extra NFTs for the later game when the game actually comes out. And you asked as well about the roadmap. We didn't talk about how the game is actually going to come out, because we're doing things slightly different than usual. Usually you have a game that's developed for 2-3 years plus, plus behind, plus after, marketing, etc. And it takes years for a game to come out. And we are actually bringing it out in modules. So by Q2, Q3 of 2023, we should have a playable module. And the first module will be the space module. So you'll be able to travel around in space, do quests in space, battles, etc. in space in that first module. And then as that module, people start playing it and we start learning from the community what's best, what's worst, what could be fixed, bugs, like always. We will continue development on the planetary module, which would come out a couple of months after, a few months after, a quarter after. And the planet module will allow you to actually go into the planets. And that's where most of the roguelike part of the game will be. For those who don't know what roguelike is, it's in a quest or a mission or a dungeon or whatever you go through. It's a playable event that you can repeat multiple times. You can go back and try to do it again, because there is a high chance of failure. And if you fail, those resources do not go to you. You might get a lot less. So that makes the possibilities of what you do in the game a lot more interesting. And we're trying to implement the same idea into the gamification that starts in January. And the season passes are super important. I'd love to pass it over to Eve now to explain a bit more about how the season passes will work, how they might be able to level up, how everyone gets airdropped one. And after the beginning of January, when the gamification is already set and things are evolving, we are also planning on opening it up to sell season passes for those people that didn't get a ship or can't get a ship, or just interested in checking out the game before they invest further, because there will be different prices for the ship and the mint and the season pass Genesis itself. So Eve.
Great.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so we have a few minutes left as far as the time slot for Rogue Galaxy. So if there's anybody in the audience that has a question for them, please request speaker now so we can get you up here. Go ahead.
I
think we scared them.
Yeah, BlockJock has that. He has the ability to mute the room.
What did I do? What did I do?
You interrupted him to tell him, like, anybody who wants to ask a question, I'll keep going.
No.
Well, no.
I was saying we scared.
I think Eve was supposed to pick up, correct? He was gonna right after that. But
yeah, I can tell a bit about the seasons, but I still wanted to wait if someone comes up with a question, because we do not bite. But you can also ask us at any point in our Discord and we will answer your questions. So if it's more something that you prefer. But going back to the seasons, we have this modular approach Ignacio already told you a bit about. And we also have seasons. And the first season is like a section of time, it's 3 months, starting with the spaceship drop right now of the Genesis spaceships. And these seasons are, you you can call it like game events already before the game comes out. As we said, in January, our first game experience will release on our website, exclusive for NFT holders. And it's an area where you can manage your fleet, go on expeditions, and already have a roguelike experience. And playing this game will earn you XP on your season pass. And that's very important. It's already like creating more value for your season pass through gameplay. But not only that, getting a certain amount of XP will also make you eligible for accessory airdrops. And these accessories are modules that you can put on your spaceship to modify it, to customize it, additional thruster, turrets, whatever you can imagine, to give it more your own personality and your own flair. And you earn them through playing the game on the website. And the season pass is also something very interesting, because this is like the access to the game. And also, potentially, if you level it up, it will give you further access, further benefits for the next season, which is coming in March, which will be our next season. As I mentioned, it's always 3 months. And also after the next season, it will launch directly into the space module. Like, the gamification is already happening. We made a lot of gamification on our Discord, even prior to the game in January. And it's very something fundamental for us to make game development exciting and make it entertaining from the start, because this is really community driven. And as Ignacio mentioned, if you just develop the game with closed curtains, this will take years until you release something. And with our approach, we can give a lot of value, gameplay, all that things in early stages back to the players. And that's very important for us.
Well, we had a few come up, Xerberus and a few others. Do you have any questions for the host or the guest before we take off here?
Yeah. So as this is like a personal question for me, like not itself. I am quite the fan of space games and space simulators in general. And I'm wondering, you mentioned that you were going to say, you said you had the space module coming out pretty soon, and then like a couple months after that, you're going to have a planet module. What does these planets look like? Are they closed dungeons? Are they procedurally generated? Are they open world? Like how are you guys getting this done so fast?
A lot of planning in the start. Like, just to give you an overview, like Rogue Galaxies maybe exists on the surface level for like 1-2 months. When we created like the Discord and all of that, but it's been so many months before that in planning, like how can we execute each module, how are these phases? And yeah, procedural generation will be a part of the planets for sure, but there are more to that. Like, we created previously roguelikes, we have a lot of experience in that genre, we are very familiar with the approaches, how to create levels for such games, because we did it previously a lot of times. There will be multiple layers to that world generation, like procedural generation, a stacking system, and also handcrafted elements that help us to shape these worlds quite fast. That will definitely all help a lot. And yes, you can imagine it a bit like dungeons. It's like you enter the planet and then you switch over to third person, no longer with your spaceship. So it's you alone or up to 4 people. Where you play this expedition and then fight hordes of enemies, gather resources. We have many cool systems in place, like classless systems, just to mention this, that you can adjust your group however you want. So it's more like what you want to play, you can play it, just change your equipment. And there's like boss fights, everything you can imagine. And one cool thing is also in our universe, and I don't think we have talked about it a lot, is like the mysterious of the Stygian Light. It's creating overlaps. And overlaps are intersections, like bubble intersections, bubble anomalies, how we call it, where 2 universes intersect with each other. And at these anomalies, there are so many changes to reality, to the environment. So these things are also a very interesting component for our gameplay, for storytelling. Just imagine you're on a planet surface, which is this dead desert where you're on your expedition. Suddenly these anomalies appear and recreating new terrain in front of you, and you are in a lush forest all of nowhere, and there are creatures running in front of you. So it's like, from a gameplay perspective, like an insane mechanic, and we already have figured out how this will actually work. So there's so many cool things to come for Rogue Galaxy. So I could talk hours about it, and I'm super excited about it. It's like, I would love just to go down and keep developing it like nonstop.
Cool. Well, thanks for the answer. I really appreciate that. I'm sitting here with like a dual stick set up with foot pedals and head tracking and everything. I really, really like space simulators, so I'll be interested in watching you guys. Thank you so much.
Great. Just want to thank Rogue Galaxy again for coming on to Cardano over coffee. We really appreciate you guys talking about the game and everything that you got coming up. It looks like it's going to be extraordinary and a great asset for Cardano's ecosystem as a whole. So we really do appreciate all the work that you're doing. Any last thoughts, call to action, anything of that nature?
Well, at the moment, we just closed. I mean, we have the last 5 NFTs that are available for anyone to mint if anyone's interested. But call to action, I would say join our Discord, join our Twitter, because it's not only about the NFTs, it's about what we're creating with the community, the story that we're creating with the community, the experience that we're creating with the community. And if anyone knows me from Ada Ninjas now, Danketsu, you know that we're interested in creating something with the community, and the community has a huge part when it comes to the story and the evolution of the whole vision of what we're creating. So if you're interested in that in any level at all, join us, give us a shout out, send me a message on Discord, talk to us, and let us know what you think. And keep your eyes peeled, because in January and February there will be more ships coming out for people who want to join the journey that we're creating with Rogue Galaxies.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate you being on. We'd love to have you stay for our next guest. Optim Fi is up next. If you could request speaker, if you're already up. I've been a little busy doing other things at the same time, multitasking here. Yeah, please request speaker if you haven't already.
While he comes up, I also wanted to thank you so much for having us. It's really a pleasure to talk to you guys and Ada Girl and Jenny and everyone here. And yeah, looking forward to Optim Fi.
Absolutely.
Hey, how's it going?
Stoked to have you guys.
Sometimes have trouble hearing co-hosts for some crazy reason, so have to contend with that. But yeah, we're here.
Are you having issues right now, or are you good?
Oh, I can hear you. There's just probably one co-host, like BlockJock, or what is this one? Let me click on him. Epoch Pool Turbo. I might not be able to hear one of them, but the host I can usually hear from the account as well as most speakers.
Well, if you're not hearing me, that's fine. You're probably even better off. You never know. Jenny, I've got a little bit to do here, and I will be listening and adding in as I can.
Me? I'm not a co-host. Okay. All right. Welcome. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared to be here today, but I'm going to do my best. So hopefully my friends will help me out. How are you, Optim?
Yeah, doing well. And also Zygo. Mev is up here. He is our tech lead, and hopefully he can hear the co-host and answer any questions from Block.
I believe I can. Hopefully, maybe. Hello.
Testing. What's up, man? Good to see you again. Or good to hear from you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Awesome.
See it. Cool. Very cool.
I can hear you too. Welcome. Anybody want to do the mid-roll for us? I'm joking.
We can do it. Do you want to do that, Jenny, before we could do the light? Well, we can't do the Lido minute. Lido's not here, unless you want to try to do the Lido minute. That'd be great. Amazing.
Well, I mean, I could say that Lido provides education in plain English, Kiswahili and Espanol, and not him, yes, it's him and Lady Lido, which they're not married, by the way, BlockJock.
Yes.
They have amazing tools for Catalyst, and Lido Darlington is running for Catalyst Circle. If you want to support him, great. If not, still vote. Please vote. That's going to be the message for today is go to Drip Drops and cast your vote for Catalyst Circle. It's going to be, for the next 6 months, they're going to be the ones who are going to help shape the future of Catalyst. So if Catalyst remains alive, which that's another topic, but please share the space if you haven't. And also I have a giveaway up there for anyone who retweets the Lido meme. I will pick a winner tomorrow. Get your money off exchanges, stake to a pool. You have Lido Pool, you have Hero Pool, Epoch Pool, and many, many other pools that you can support while also supporting the same ecosystem you're trying to build on. And make sure that you don't get your money taken like It happened to me, it happened to Hero with Celsius, and it happened to a lot of people with FTX. So please get your money off exchanges and welcome our new guest, Optim Finance. That's it. All right, Optim. Since BlockJock seems to be super busy and Epoch kind of took off as well, he's on vacation. And our host, Hero, is also a volunteer fireman. And apparently there's a nasty storm happening where he lives. And he keeps getting called for helping people on the road. So that's why we're a little bit short staffed. But we have my Ada girl here too, giving me moral support.
Of course, I'm always here for you, girl.
Oh, I think Optim now dropped. Probably having connection issues.
I just added him back up, I think.
Hi, Nito.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
We can. I can hear you.
Nice. Hey Jenny. Hey the girl. Hey everyone.
How?
I dropped out yesterday because I was on my way home from work. I was gonna chill or talk some of the Cardano music awards that we got going now in the community, and I managed to pin the tweet and I got some engagement on it. It was really cool. I was wondering if I could pin and if people could share the first polling.
Yes, and we'd love for you to stick around. We have a guest right now, so once the guest is done with the presentation, that we can talk about the awards.
Yeah,
sounds exciting.
Thank you. I got 40 minutes.
So, Optim, can you hear us now? You hear?
Ethan, can you hear them?
No, I'm pretty sure I can't hear co-hosts, but you can take any
Oh,
questions.
no
from them.
way.
Hey, no.
Okay, I'll just repeat everything they say.
I can hear the hosts, and then you can even type me the questions, or I'm pretty sure I can pick up the context based on your answers and chime in.
Well, so, hey, Zach, so if you could just speak on where you guys are at now. Obviously, you're already live, and how things are going. Give us an update.
Yeah, so we've launched practically last week ago. Well, in a few hours, it will be exactly 1 week ago. So far, we've been able to accumulate over 2.5 million ADA TVL and give and help community lend ADA to two distinct SPOs, PSB and DTDN, both of which are now enjoying the benefits of this newfound delegation. And I think so far it's been going really well. We will soon have the hardware wallet integration everybody has been asking us for, and from that point on, we'll be practically golden. I mean, everything's going really well so far, so I don't see why we won't be golden right now. But everything has gone well as it should be and according to plan. I don't know what else to say. That's where we are.
So I have a few questions surrounding it. So as far as everybody's got their ideas of how the launch is going to go, has it gone according to plan, or has there been some bumps along the way? And how have you guys handled those? If you could just express on that a little bit.
Bumps along the road. Well, primarily we have gone through extensive testing on testnet. We have gone through an excruciating audit procedure, and we have had a great deal of confidence that the system will work as expected once we have deployed to mainnet, and it did work exactly as expected. When we went to mainnet, that's kind of stating the obvious, because it, as we can plainly see on the app's website, it does work. Has there been any bumps along the way? Yeah, but it's mostly due to people not understanding the app, making a pool here and there, not understanding, and us not being 100% documented in terms of saying that there is a verification program going on, and we are helping SPOs and users in this initial launch to smooth things over, ordering them in a schedule so that they can issue their bond and not compete with one another, stuff like that. I'm sure Ethan can touch on a little more in what we want to exactly say around the program for now. Ethan, want to touch on that?
So we we are onboarding, SPOs. It's of course a permissionless protocol. Anyone can issue a bond. However, we want these bonds to fill and not fragment liquidity unnecessarily. So, the bonds that do have other, incentives on top, such as, a future, possible airdrop that we're going to do, just, for the community and people who are participating, in Optim Finance and, are familiar with the protocol and would participate in governance. Those loans, see other incentives, and the people who are the loans that get those extra incentives, we typically have a conversation, with the SPO, learn a little bit about their pool. We do want people to use this as a tool to leverage for marketing and building their presence in the community, contributing to the community and the direction of Cardano. And so we have a number of stake pools. I would say right now, probably in the range of 15 that will likely be issuing over the coming 2 months. And it's going well. I would say bumps in the road would. Max is coming at it from more, he's the tech lead, I'm the product lead. From a product standpoint, the bumps in the road probably mostly just agonizing about the product, the user experience, wanting to build something for Cardano that is unique, that is useful, that has other use cases beyond just SPOs. There are other use cases for these, what we call liquidity bonds, which is really just the ability to lend and borrow staking rights. It goes far beyond SPOs. That's the first use case, but our core set of smart contracts is extensible, and we can make some tweaks on our front end that allow for other people who might want to borrow ADA staking rights. So just trying to figure out for the long term how to position this product in a way that is most useful for Cardano, and then figuring out, of course, what we're going to do next.
Right. So I have a couple questions. One is that as far as from the education side, obviously some people will jump on to the DApp and not really know what to do. And most, like for me as a gamer when I was a kid, I would literally just jump on the game and figure it out by, figure out what not to do in order to figure out what I was supposed to do. And I really don't think anybody should approach it that way, but a lot of gamers do, right? So what are you doing in order to kind of give a little bit more education to let's say the person who's coming in to maybe offer up ADA into the bond for a particular SPO that's looking to get a loan? How exactly are you educating those people coming in? And then on the opposite side of that, how are you educating the SPOs on what they know, their liabilities are going to be, their costs are going to be, how it averages out versus what they're going to be getting if they start to mint blocks? Because obviously, if they have no delegation and they're only getting 1 million ADA, they're really not going to be minting blocks on a regular basis. So if you could kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we first and foremost educate the SPOs. We do a lot more than that because it's like one-on-one calls with them, with those prospective borrowers. We educate them about the costs, about the numbers directly. We make sure that they understand what they're getting into, exactly the kind of schedule they'll be in, and of course working off of the already existing delegation they have, sizing them up for what would be the best for them and the health of their pool going forward. On the lender side, we primarily focus on letting people know that this is how exactly the interest rate work. And I mean, I think we are doing such a great job with establishing a community. I would like to highlight a post by one of our DAO members here, by Marco. Great guy, Shout out to him. He's made an article exactly talking about how the interest for lenders works with prepaid and short circuiting, quote unquote, loans. If they don't go the full 1 year, 72 epochs, then essentially you see a large increase in APY for lenders that receive the additional 5 epochs worth of rewards because of this penalty that is applied. At least, in the current setup that we have. A lot of those parameters can be tweaked by the borrowers. And this is talking about the setup that's currently in place. And we will be opening it up more as we go along and people understand the offering. And that's kind of where we stand on the education front, and we'll be doing a lot of that in the coming weeks and months. We have a video coming up by Jack. I'm not sure if that's been released yet. Anything else you'd like to say, Ethan, around education? What we will be doing? Videos? Anything?
No, we have videos rolling out. We have, people that want to participate in something like this, one would hope would do a little research and reading. We have, if you go on our Medium, we have a bunch of articles from very short form summary articles about these liquidity bonds to longer form articles to an extensive Gitbook documentation to community members that have written articles to our Discord. So we put the materials out there. We have videos coming out. We have interviews that are out there. So Ada Pulse is coming out, and there are many things. So we are putting things out there at a certain point, right? You have to rely on participants to uptake that material. So we hope that people who do look at participating in this will do that and educate themselves. That's kind of the tough thing about a permissionless DeFi protocol is that sometimes anyone can participate, and you can't force them to go through all of the education that maybe they should. So that's like with any protocol, right? You can LP on a DEX and most likely get wrecked on impermanent loss. You might not completely see it, but that's what's happening a lot of the time, right? There's academic articles out of top institutions on IL on Uniswap v3, and especially when you don't have concentrated liquidity, it gets rough. And even when you do, anyways, I won't go down on a DeFi tangent, but yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, BlockJock. Do your work. I'm here. I got it.
No,
Go.
Hero, actually, take a spot here because I'm like right in the middle of something. I do want to hear more about this because I'm really intrigued with Optim and what they're doing. But Hero, if you have any questions or anything, please, by all means.
Sorry about that, guys. We got like an 1.5 inch rainstorm, which turned into ice overnight, and had a bunch of wrecks this morning. And as a fireman, I don't get to choose when they call for emergencies. So, but glad to be here. Optim, congratulations on mainnet. That's awesome. I know my buddy Boris has done a bond with you guys already and everything. He seems to be very happy with it. What other feedback have you been getting so far?
A lot of positive feedback we've been getting. That's for sure. People seem to. A lot of times when we don't receive positive feedback, it comes from a perspective of, oh, actually, SPOs have to pay. Yeah, yes, that's kind of the idea. If you borrow delegation, you're supposed to, offer something in exchange. That's the value. That goes both ways, and fundamentally, that's kind of the deal. That's the harshest criticisms we've received is that, yes, they need to pay. That's kind of,
Yeah, and we like to say, for SPOs, right, it's bounded. How much, what does it cost, and what's the total, possible, cost of the loan if you hold it to duration, and it's around $3,000 to $5,000. If you look at the difference between what the SPO makes
over a year.
If you look at, and a lot of these, loans are 1 year in duration. If you look
But
at what an SPO,
those numbers based off of only 1 million, are you looking at numbers where the stake pool already has established delegation?
yes. So if the stake pool, so we give every SPO who's interested a calculator where they can input, where their stake is currently, different size of the bonds. They can play around with every parameter. And these bonds, I think, are most economical for SPOs that have between 50 and say 200,000 worth of stake. But the numbers, work out similarly for an SPO who say has 500,000 of delegation and takes out 500,000 loan or bond to bring them up over $1 million. Then, there are people like PSB who started with, I think, 6 or 7 million in delegation and took out a 1.8 million loan. I haven't run the calculator to see, but I know Boris has, and maybe it's a little bit more expensive for him, maybe $5,000 or $6,000. I'm not sure exactly, but for some people, it's different, right? Every SPO is different. Maybe you have an IT job and you make $180,000 a year and you really enjoy DeFi and you want to experiment with, a novel protocol that doesn't exist on any other blockchain because, you couldn't do this anywhere that doesn't have native liquid staking. And for you, $5,000 to participate in this kind of cool experiment that combines, DeFi and decentralization and Cardano and a new novel product, that's worth it to you, right? So they're all different perspectives, and we try to be completely transparent with, what this is costing, what's on the line, what you're going to get out of it, leverage it for marketing. It's not a magic bullet. Yes, it costs you money. So, we're really trying to, not.
I don't get why people would question it costing you money. Where do you go to get a loan and not pay money?
It's something we have dealt with over this week. Yes.
Kind of funny. I find
it is funny, but we take criticism seriously and we engage in discussion. So on the flip side, now that we have mentioned the criticisms we have received, the feedback, positive, comes from like a few sources. Number one, now people don't realize it, but in some discussions now we've had, there's a few secret things, and looking at PSB currently, he's received the 1 million ADAS pledge, and he's using it as pledge. Now this is possible on Cardano. Renting pledge. Number two, transaction chaining. A complicated technique dealing with concurrency, which we have written an article on. If you've used our app, you have undoubtedly noticed that if you press a button, you immediately receive the response that, oh, now it is in your wallet. Crazy. How does that work? Well, I won't go into too much of a detail. However, we've only heard positive things around this system, and people seem to be really enjoying it. How quickly and how snappy and how responsive the DApp is. You immediately see the results of your actions, and people can interact with those immediate actions on the other side of the world. It's very nice. It has some limitations, and but for what we use it for, it's a perfect system from that side. I highly recommend you try it out. Just with 100 ADA, go in, go out. If you don't want to participate fully, just to witness how snappy it is. Just to see the technique in action. And that's one of the things that is also very much praised. And those are the positive highlights of the system. And of course the SPOs and large whales who have participated very much enjoyed the product.
Yeah, and we're also going to be doing some benchmarking to see, again, this is an experiment. And there are other use cases, and we're going to be building, many more products for Cardano. But, for this particular application of liquidity bonds for SPOs, we're going to be doing some documentation on, does it work, in the sense that, the SPOs who took these loans out for delegation, are they attracting organic delegation over the year of the bond, right? And helping them, leverage marketing techniques and
Well,
see.
I hope they learn to market, right? Because even you see projects getting the 15 million from the foundation, and they don't grow over the time that they have it. So
right.
I hope the SPOs are understanding that it's not like just because you have a million pledge, everybody's not going to come running to you. There's still other aspects.
We have that conversation with them, and we like to try to especially support SPOs that do have a marketing plan in place. And I think we've talked to people in IO in different places and presented this, and I think it's very interesting to the community as you can almost think of it as another form of a delegation program, right? CF has their programs, IOG has their programs, and this could be thought of as another program where actually the SPO has some skin in the game. So rather than a free lunch and just randomly giving someone, it's not always random, right? They have their own techniques, 15 million ADA for 3 months or 3 million ADA for 6 months. What if the SPO actually pays, say, $3,000 or $4,000 for this delegation for a year? Is it any different? Are the results any different? Is the organic delegation that's attracted any different? Is the way that the SPO operates their pool and participates in the community any different when they have some skin in the game? So it's kind of interesting experiment in that regard, if you think of it as another way, another sort of delegation program.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I love the idea. My concern though is like over the long life of Cardano, right? The rewards are going to go down. So how is this going to be feasible in 3 years from now?
The numbers will be smaller, is all.
It might be.
I'd like to personally put more emphasis on the native rewards. Ethan doesn't like to think about the native token rewards, but I think there's a lot of potential because the DApp itself allows the smart contract for any native token to be given as interest, as long as the borrower actually specifies it up front and the lenders agree to that interest being paid out. So technically, we've already discussed this. You could pay in Husky, like 1 billion Husky every epoch, something like that. And you're essentially borrower goes into a sideways bet here, saying yes, Husky will go down in price, and I want it, and the lenders are going into a sideways bet that yes, the Husky will go up or stay at the current price where they think it's fair. And the way the loan works is that they will be now sitting in it, and if the price on the native asset that's being given as interest goes the wrong way for the borrowing party, they are held in place by the fact that they need to prepay. They have prepaid for a few epochs in advance. Currently, for the SPO bonds, we've set it to 6 epochs in advance at all times that need to be paid up, and now they simply need to weigh what is worth more. Do they continue paying the native asset that has gone up in price for them? So now they're on the wrong side of the bet, or do they continue or do they lose the prepaid interest?
I think that's
so that sort of calculation. One moment, Ethan. That sort of calculation for native assets is something that we'll be getting into in the future. But for now, just an ADA to ADA returns, they will get worse, as we all know. But the system is not tied to any specific.
Well, let's just to address that question very directly. So, let's say ADA rewards go down to it's 2%. ROA for your average stake pool. It's still likely that in that case, if an SPO wanted to bootstrap their pool and offer 3.5% ROA, or APY for lenders to bootstrap a pool, that might still be an attractive option for some people. So as Max said, the numbers all just get smaller, and on top of that, this liquidity bond system has other use cases that we're rolling out into the ecosystem. If you look at some of our documentation, the same smart contract infrastructure can be used for some of these other use cases. So it might very well be the case that in 3 years, these SPO liquidity bonds, you just don't see them being used because the ecosystem has changed over time. And, that's fine, because if this were the only use case for liquidity bonds, it probably wouldn't have been the smartest use of resources to build them just around this one use case. But there, are a number of other, positive things that can come from them.
Especially with DeFi opening up, I see people are going to want to borrow ADA to trade, or other native assets in the long run, right? So this is a route for them at some point. So
yeah, I think IBOs are really cool for anyone. I'll just real quick run through. We really are. I hate to be so bullish on that use case. We really like it in that right now. If you want to run in ISO on Cardano, if you're a project, you want to raise funds. Not as many quality ones right now, right? Because we're in a bear market, and if you're a really talented, software engineer, financial engineer, maybe you aren't diving into crypto today. It's harder to raise from VCs, blah blah blah. But expect that cycle to change. If you want to raise funds as a project and run sort of an ISO right now, you either go the MELD Genius Yield model and you saturate 6 of your own stake pools and kind of concentrate the network a bit more. Nakamoto coefficient goes down. Not great. Other ways, you go the sort of min swap, Sunday swap, I shouldn't say Ardana route, where you don't raise funds. You say delegate to all these small stake pools, and it's simply a marketing and token distribution method. Now, how can you get the best of both worlds? How can you actually raise funds as a project, but not have to run your own pools? So within an IBO bond, it's the same basic system. In place of an SPO, imagine there's a project and they want to borrow just the staking rights to ADA. So they say, it's right. They say, here's a 50 million ADA bond. People put 50 million ADA into the smart contract, right? Instead of the SPO, it's the project on the other side as the borrower. They attach their stake key to the ADA. They delegate it to any arbitrary number of small, medium-sized pools. They get the staking rewards for that ADA. And instead of paying interest in ADA like an SPO would, they pay interest in their native token. And there you have it. That allows the best of both worlds, where a project can A, actually raise funds, but B, can delegate to any arbitrary number of small SPOs. So that's, we think, a really cool use case.
I would agree with that. I think that's an amazing use case, because not only can the project then take advantage of, maybe they take advantage of another ISPO that's going on and get that token and then sell it for funds. There's lots of options that they would then have at that point. I don't know what Inzal had gone over. I don't know if you were late coming up, because I was late coming to the show. I apologize. Anything you just kind of want to finish up with? Anything you definitely want to get out there?
I think, are you talking about from ours?
From you guys, is there anything that you want to finish up?
Okay. Not really. I would just say, check out the system. Like Max says, when the liquidity is pooling for one of these bonds, it's an O pool. You can play with the system and purchase sort of one of these loans, one of these bonds, and then redeem your ADA right back out before the loan fills. So you can kind of test out the system without actually having to commit your ADA. Now, to be clear, once the full amount of the bond is put in the pool and it executes, then you cannot pull your ADA out. You have this bond token that's redeemable for 100 ADA plus interest, at the end of the bond's duration. Now that bond token is tradable, and we're currently working on, developing a secondary market. And we do have a lot of interested parties and institutional liquidity that, would want to purchase, on a secondary market, those bond tokens. Because you can imagine, say I bought a bond token, it's 100 ADA face value. Gee, I need to sell that ADA for whatever reason. So I offer to sell that bond token for maybe a discount of 1%. Not a big hit to get instant liquidity, 1-2%. So, that bond token that, eventually, or it's worth, say today, 102 ADA, because, there's 2 ADA worth of interest that have been accumulated into the smart contract. I sell that to someone for 100 ADA, and the person who purchases it on a secondary market now, has, instead of maybe 5.5%, they've now they're making 7% on it or something. So we're working on developing, those secondary markets. We're just trying to get the right infrastructure and implementation for it. We do think we have a lot of demand at scale, especially from institutions, to purchase those. And that makes it, maybe easier for some people who are hesitant to participate because, this is for long-term ADA holders. You participate in one of these bonds, and, if you want to get back into actual liquid ADA and go into dollars, say, it is going to be, probably a year, or if the SPO decides to close the bond early, at whatever point that is.
Yeah, and we can imagine and have speculated on the possibilities of using those bonds in a variety of places and products, as collateral, as part of the system itself. And fundamentally, we like to call it a primitive. What people do with it, what we later do with it, all is up in the air. Anything can happen and will happen. And we are very open to working with and helping anybody, if they want to, develop their own applications on top of them. I mean, of course, before people actually want to come back to the house, we'll need more liquidity, we'll need more time and assurances. But in time, I am positive that applications will come.
And I agree. Gold Rush, you have your hand up.
Hi guys, this has been a great space. Thank you for dropping in this morning. So I had a quick question in regards to a borrower or the person who takes the bond, right? The ADA. Is there like a penalty for early payback? Because I'm kind of seeing a scenario here where somebody might take out a one of these large bonds just to increase their ADA holdings for like a specific snapshot, and then that would change their voting power, for instance. And then they could just repay the loan right after the snapshot, and their penalties would be low on that. Or I'm curious how that all works, because I can see how people might use this system and influence government.
Yes. So this is also one of the reasons why we are, working with to verify the initial ones. That's why the setups are so constrained now, because we know for a fact that if we were to allow, say, people to create a borrow offer for like 20% interest, everybody would be like, wow, that's really good, and people would jump in, and maybe they wouldn't realize that there's no buffer or no prepaid interest, and stuff like that would just close them out early, and there would be like a lot of mercenary liquidity, and I don't think the system is ready for it yet. The people don't have a full understanding of how the system works. But once we move forward in time, people get a more grounded understanding of what exactly the rules of the system are. We will be able to loosen up and allow more types of borrow offers be created. Now, most notably for your question, how do we safeguard against that? Well, by education. Do you, as a participant, want to deposit into a pool that or lend your ADA to someone that offers you 20% annualized, but will only really give you interest for 2 epochs? Well, maybe not. That's up for you. It's a permissionless system. You can do whatever you want. We'll be, allowing the front end to make more use of the permissionless of it and display everything appropriately. But that's kind of that. Did I capture the essence of your question, or would you want me to focus on something?
I would also say it would be very expensive to do what you're talking about. If you, just from purely a voting standpoint, let's just say for Catalyst or for Voltaire,
for those systems, they are not 100% in place. We are not 100% sure whether Catalyst captures those loans as voting power.
It's likely they don't. Even if they did, I think if you start to run the numbers, it would be very expensive to rent, a meaningful amount of ADA, enough ADA to move a vote. To have it for 1 or 2, epochs, it would, if you needed, say, a lot of these catalyst things, right? We had our proposal and there was 200 million votes on it. To rent even 20 or 30 million to try to really move the needle would be a lot of ADA. So, and again, we don't know if that's even possible, but if it were, I don't think the economics would be so favorable.
Yeah, I haven't really crunched the math on it, so I appreciate you at least doing the thought experiment with me.
Quick math
in terms of in terms of like direct safeguards, currently the buffer is set to 6 epochs, meaning that the penalty for closing early on like a 1-year loan is 5 epochs worth of upfront interest, and that the lenders get. And in the article I've linked above that Marco made, he highlights that if now a loan by DTDN just goes under immediately, he pays no interest. Borrowers would get essentially annualized 10%, because proportionally that would be due to the penalty proportionally with respect to the time they held. So that's kind of the penalty that's currently there in place. But this penalty is set by the borrower. It's like a self-imposed check, and it's up for the people, the lenders, to actually be careful and manage their own risk as to how much of a buffer they want, how much prepaid interest they want, and duration-wise, how are they looking like to lend. So before people actually can understand the risks and manage them themselves, the system is constrained in a way that those parameters are set in stone. Buffer only 6, prepaid 12 exactly, and duration 1 year, and only three sizes available.
Thank you for that. I got to get back to work, so I'm going to be listening. Thank you so much.
That's a good thing that you guys have built that in. I like that idea, just because, like you said, over time, more education, and it's really up to the lender, right? They need to look at what they want to do as far as the parameters. If that bond doesn't meet your parameters, don't lend the funds out. If it does, then absolutely. All right, so very interesting concept, and I'm so excited to see this on Cardano and people taking advantage of it. And I believe that I might have to go deposit some funds later into a bond.
Only possible on Cardano.
Yeah, right. And it's I was talking to Boris, and just kind of the way that the Franken address is kind of utilized in order to be able to do certain things is quite interesting. So
I have a little question though, because you're no stranger to the community, but for those coming in today that are getting familiar, if they want to know more about the team, I don't see any information on the website. Is there a place where people can learn about the team?
Let's see.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question.
That's the $1 million question. No, so
yes.
Yeah, I've been asked that. We maybe should dox a few of ourselves. So if you get into our Discord and start to poke around, like, yeah, you can find out who we are. You can find our LinkedIns. Crypto is tough, and from a regulatory standpoint, it's constantly a moving target. And we are thinking about doxing. We also kind of like the concept. I know it's not really it's not big on Cardano, but we build on and have built in other ecosystems, Algorand, Ethereum. We love DeFi, we love blockchain, we love Cardano, but we're also I don't want to say completely chain agnostic, but there are other fun things you can do in other places that you can't do on Cardano, and things you can do on Cardano that you can't do in other places. But anyhow, there's this sort of concept in blockchain and crypto in general, and just with Web3 and decentralization, that if you have really strong code, if the contracts have been audited, and if it's a permissionless protocol, then the people behind it are not necessarily that's not the most important thing. I see the flip side of it too, because I guess it is our front end. And if you're not actually, deploying and getting the contracts directly on chain, there could be, a concern there. So we're thinking about it. If I lived in like Vietnam or Dubai, I wouldn't care. But unfortunately, I don't. I live in a country that has an unusually aggressive regulatory regime that is not the most friendly towards crypto right now, unfortunately, because of things like FTX, which are not true crypto, right? That's not self-custody, that's not DeFi, that's not smart contracts. That's literally just give us your digital assets and trust us, we'll do great things with them. Anyways, so that's the probably too long-winded answer to your question, but right now there is not a lot of information on the team if you just go to the website and don't want to do any work yourself and dig into it.
Yeah, if you dig into it, you can find a lot of information. Like a lot.
Oh yeah, you can go like the GitHub and things like that, and you start kind of like drilling down if you really want to find out, I guess. Yeah, I was just like wondering because I do notice, and it looks like it's purposely, of course, because you don't want to get doxxed. Also, it's like, well, it's kind of silly. A lot of people know here, a lot of people behind the team, but it makes sense now that you say it like that. So yeah, I was just thinking more for people that are coming in new. They're like, okay, who. Especially with what's happening right now, right? Like everybody's so cautious and like, who's behind that team? Who's running that? Who's who? But I totally
if you look at it, the teams that have been doxxed, have had teams all over the website, are the ones who are under most scrutiny and haven't been delivered. I don't want to say that out loud, but I just did. So
Well,
I agree with you.
Right,
actually, a lot of times when I look at the pictures that people post and the way they present the team, it's an immediate turnoff for me. Like, oh my God, no. I almost wish you would have been not doxxed.
Yeah, it's like
Except
if you're
freeloaders,
saying,
right,
look
Jenny?
at me, I have this degree or I'm this marketer. It's like, just ship. Just write really good code. Get audits from top people. Hopefully you can pay for it. Tweeg, MLabs.
Who were your audits done by? You might have mentioned it and I probably missed it. I was just wondering.
MLabs, Tweeg, and MLabs. 3 in total. Okay. Each targeting a different part of the thing. So first one was like a code quality plus verifying it from like a Plutarch standpoint. Yes, this is nice. Yes, this works. There's plus also looking at the vulnerabilities, anything that we could address. A couple of some testing done. Plus then it was like a thorough audit by Tweeg, and then we looked at it ourselves. Found some other things, and then finally we got one not so long ago, again by MLabs, separate teams and all, to just verify fixes of everything. And with the fixes verified, we have deployed them.
And both of those audit reports are available in their entirety on our Git book.
Excellent. Not that I know how to go and really look at that, but I have friends who do. So if I really want to get involved in researching it, I'll reach out to them and say, hey, can you look at this audit report? Because let's be honest, a lot of people don't know how to read that shit. Most people never even looked at one before. So,
and even and then Cardano audits also, like, right, you might have read some Solidity audits, and there are people that have been doing code reviews and audit reviews on YouTube for 3 or 4 years on Solidity, but sometimes we use Plutus, then we use Plutarch, right? We use stuff that, hasn't even been in production for a long time. And so even finding people to properly audit those is difficult. And then reading audit reports on top of that can be challenging.
And that's why I asked who audited it, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, we've been audited, right? And not saying you, just projects in general. But who the fuck audited you? Do they know Haskell? Do they know Plutarch? Do they know what language? Because we're such a new kind of ecosystem. That's always something to make sure that you look into when you're looking at audits of projects. So
yeah, we tried to find the best, and even that it's tough, right? The more you look at it and poke at it, you can sort of always find something. And I think it's also, know if I should open this can of worms and say this.
No,
here,
let's
or...
not open this can of worms. Please don't open this can of worms, or else I'm going to have to say things I don't want to say.
Well, now it seems sus.
Okay,
now
so
we gotta talk about
we can
it, guys.
identify
So
the
you
can.
gotta
We don't
bring
need
it
to
up,
open
bro.
the
You
can, but we can
responded.
identify it because I don't want
Yeah,
to.
so-
I don't want.
Yeah, Ethan, say your words.
Yeah, you can identify the can. I wonder if we're even talking about the same thing. Now I'm curious. You go.
Okay. No, you go.
All right, I'll go. I was just talking about the open sourcing contracts versus not open sourcing them, with the simple observation that the only time in Cardano there was a major almost exploit that was only a white hat sort of hack was when the MinSwap vulnerability was identified, and that only happened at the point at which they open sourced their contracts. Is that what you thought I was going to say?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's really a valid line of logic. They should be, our contract are safe, and we aren't afraid to open source them. We aren't open sourcing them primarily because of competition that may come as a result of them. Not revealing our trade secrets just yet. However, we do have plans to do so. I was more talking about the fact that the tooling that is used by auditors sometimes is insufficient to meet and identify core vulnerabilities. And we have been privy to this fact and have dealt with it.
Oh, yeah, that
is the statement I'll make.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've thrown bombs at every top auditor, even people internally at IOG. And you can.
So what you're
telling,
what I'm hearing from you is that if there's somebody out there that wants to be an entrepreneur and build a auditing firm for Cardano specifically, it sounds like there's a lot of room out there for that type of business.
It's just so damn hard. There is a guy, we know a guy named Jimmy, and he's got like a PhD from MIT in meta programming. One of the guys on our audit team has a PhD in formal method, right? It's on the Twig audit team from what is the top Urbana Champagne, like crazy, people, giga brain, PhD, formal methods, Haskell, Twig, they invented Plutarch. So these people are doing the audit, right? And they are starting their audit businesses, and they have their audit processes. And so I guess what we're trying to say is that, what are we trying to say, Max? I don't know. No matter how smart you are,
you have a big mouth. You run it. You have run it into this place. What are we trying to say, Ethan? What are you trying to say? Well, I guess what we're trying to say is that it's incredibly hard on Cardano currently, with the state of the tooling and the state of the standards for dApp creation and the constantly moving goalposts of languages changing things. It's incredibly hard to be 100% certain in the correctness of your dApp, with still discussions that are being had about what constitutes a dApp, what's a protocol, what is it on chain, what things can be off chain, and there's a lot of questions, a lot of discussions that are being had, a lot of tooling that is inadequate to capture certain types of errors, vulnerabilities, and absolutely Byzantine knowledge that's not at all documented. And as to how Cardano works is essentially what it amounts to is, when a project says they're audited, it's a great assurance that there has been a baseline work done. This is why we have gone on for so long and done it so many times, to get a higher degree of assurance, targeting each thing every time, is to say that I think we have reached a sufficiently high degree of confidence that there is nothing wrong with the implementation of what we have brought before the community. But just doing like a one overview wouldn't be necessarily good enough. And if we had done a one, it wouldn't have been good enough, because there have been vulnerabilities after 2 audits we have done. This is to say that we have, and those vulnerabilities we identified on our own, our internal team. That's the statement.
Yeah, I think we actually
you have to trust those doing the audits, right? And that doesn't make it, accurate 100%.
I think we were finished with the DApp in like June or July. We could have launched it. And, we went through audits and poked at the code again from all different angles with all different types of people. And, you want to get the low hanging fruit and, get it as safe as possible. But any project, especially on Cardano, that comes on and say, we were audited, there's nothing that can happen, or it's so safe because we were audited. I think what we're trying to say is take that with a grain of salt or a few.
Yeah, and especially since after you deploy the code, you want to add more features to it. I don't want to poke at exactly which projects have modified their code after audit, but it is extremely limiting to not modify your code after audit, and this is something we are not going to do in any time soon. However, with the costs of audit and getting this level of high assurance, this is not something that will help Cardano in the long term. In the short term or in midterm, in general, it will not help Cardano, since audit costs are high and the degree of assurance they provide is relatively low, bizarrely enough, due to the infancy of the system. And, you hear a lot of people talking, formal verification. Yeah, no, it doesn't exist at all. You cannot formally verify a DApp right now on Cardano. Not even one bit. So, and there's a lot of discussions with people in the know as to how we can get there and how we can get a high or even high degrees of assurance to the systems, or even quote-unquote perfect degrees of assurance through formal verification, formal method techniques. But those are so far only discussions. Some actionables have been identified, but it's a long road ahead, unfortunately.
Yeah, Gold Rush, go ahead, and then we're going to wrap this up.
I just want to say thank you so much, Max, and I hope everybody in the room stops and wraps their mind around everything that Max just said. Because we all watch the whiteboard, we know about formal verification and peer review and academic, all these things, right? But what he's just telling us right now is that we're not there yet, not on the DApp level, right? So this is powerful information that he's letting you hear right now.
Kind of the alpha without knowing that it's even alpha, right? Because it is powerful. But I want to thank Max and you guys for coming and talking about OptimFi, and I think you guys have a bright future. Both in Cardano and on the other chains that you guys work on. So I appreciate that cross-chain shit, because it's not one chain to rule them all. So thank you guys for taking time out, coming up, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Cool. Thanks so much for having us.
And come back.
Have fun.
Yeah, come back when you guys do some updates or something, dropping a new product. You're always welcome back. You know that.
Appreciate it.
Zag,
we will.
Zag, thanks for ripping the Band-Aid off. And sounds to me like we need a larger discussion just solely around formal verification, I think. So that's something.
That's we're having those. It's a rabbit hole. Yeah, let's just say it's a work in progress.
BlockJock, you probably have the coffee show up. You ready to end it? You ready to call it a day?
I think Nato wanted to share something, and I told him that we could do it after the guest. I just want to make sure he gets a chance.
Yeah, and I didn't launch, so somebody else at that wheelhouse.
Probably Lido then, because if it's not me, I hope it's not Epoch, because we're never getting out of here.
Yeah, he's in Costa Rica. We should have fun.
Is Lido here?
Pura vida. No, Lido? No, man. He really takes seriously the whole Thursday off. What the heck? Like, he should be on campaign mode. He should be here.
Last day of vote Catalyst Circle. You would think this would be the day that you would not take off.
I know, right? I've thought the same thing. But before I let Nito say what he wants to share with us.
You said Lido. I apologize.
Oh no, I was talking about Nito. Yesterday was like the live event for Pavia. By the way, I don't know if any of you guys joined. I joined, and they had like Nito's music playing there, and you could jam to it. It was pretty dope. But I want to make sure that anybody that didn't retweet and didn't know about this giveaway that I'm doing, there's a meme I did for Lido to spread awareness that Lido is, in fact, Darlington, who is running for Catalyst Circle. And you can vote until tomorrow. Please, please cast your vote today. Even if you don't vote for him, vote for whoever you want, but please vote. It's important for our ecosystem to get this participation going. So I'll do this giveaway tomorrow morning. I'll pick a winner, just share it, and you'll automatically be entered into the giveaway.
Yes, and if you'd be so kind to also vote for Lee Yost, that would be amazing.
We did not endorse that one. Thank you very much.
I'm speaking as a private citizen.
What's up, Nito? You want to share that the music awards with us?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I don't have much time, but we're past the nominations. Well, just to start off, the Cardano Music Awards was just a spontaneous idea that I usually have to show and lift up all the artists and music projects and platforms we have here on Cardano. And yeah, the nominations are over. I pinned the tweet. That's the first polling tweet. So if you could be so kind and share it and vote for your favorite artists on here on Cardano. If you don't own any music NFTs, you can check my handle called Ada Music. I have approximately 85 music NFTs there now. That sort of covers almost every artist. So go there, listen, be a part of the awards, and we're gonna do final polling tomorrow. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you something because I was excited about it, but then I found that it was just only people like releasing in 2022 and not including people who release music in 2021. So I did not like that.
No, it wasn't deterministic of any year. It was.
Oh, that's what everybody was telling me when I was like talking about it. So I actually did not confirm with you, but I didn't participate because of that, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it was just nominate whoever you think deserves or minted an NFT on Cardano. That was the only requirement, that it was a minted NFT.
Oh, well, that's good to know, but it's too late now. I also saw like the nominations, so I was like, yeah, okay. Well, vote for whoever you like that's included in there. I know there's some people that are very unknown that people don't know that existed prior to, the boom of the music NFT. So that's why I was a little bummed out, because you said that you have everybody in that wallet. I'm gonna check it out to see if that's true.
I said most probably I got a lot of them. No, don't take me up on that. But I probably am gonna miss some. But most of them since I arrived and in January are there. But 2021, I'm not really sure. But if you can, you can. If you have some spare, please you can donate some or send some there for people to listen to. Anyways.
Cool, Nito. Thanks for that. I hope you have fun with that experiment.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for letting me up to speak about it.
I didn't let you up. It was BlockJock or somebody else. No, I'm joking. You can always come up here, and anybody can.